by the sound of violence. Liked by the sound of violence.
As for the kind of access versus adversarial balance that you spoke about, I think that's a very important one, especially in MMA. For a lot of media members, access is the most important thing that they can maintain from a professional and financial perspective. MMA is a sport that, although we'd like to believe it's in the mainstream, has yet to truly cross over into mainstream the same way some of the other major force sports have. In that sense, the audience is much smaller. So for reporting on the sport and for media on the sport, the best way to drive audiences to your site or to create ad revenue or to advance yourself in the world of media is to gain favor or keep favor, or neither of the two, but a sort of general understanding with a subject that allows you to get exclusive news or to report on popular fighters or popular genre.
What up, everybody, and welcome back to yet another Sound of Violence podcast. We are an MMA podcast to let you know the MMA podcast to catch, skip, and can't miss each week. I am Pulver, and I am back yet again with my co-host, Chris Madaffer. What up, dude?
What up, what up? See, I got that COVID buzz going.
That's right, dude. We should just rename this podcast to two white dudes with buzz cuts talking about MMA named Chris.
Yeah, and if you ever said it on Twitter, knowing the cesspool of Twitter, they would take that way out of context and assume entirely different things that...
Were future KGB Lee husbands?
Yes. Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I can make that joke because she blocked us on Twitter.
And we're like, honey, you blocked us.
Before pointing out that her husband was a Nazi, and that's kind of weird. But yeah, well, we've talked about it too many times. Anyway... we are not a podcast about KGB Lee's ex-husbands who are Nazis. We are a podcast about MMA podcasts. But before we get into all of that, since it's been a pretty fucking interesting week, I think, for MMA podcasts, you can tell some people are struggling to fill content right now. And other people are doing like cool, interesting, unique shit that I can't wait to get into. But before we get to all that, it is about 900 degrees here in San Diego. I'm in Santee, which is even hotter. You guys can probably see the fucking sweat coming off of my head as we record this. But why don't we start off with Chris? You want to start us off with our Papa Vodka Presents, Doug Stanhope Presents, our super real, super not fake sponsor?
Yeah, so super real, not fake sponsor. I'm wearing the shirt, too. This is unofficially brought to you by Society Brewing.
Oh, there we go.
I'm also drinking...
Oh, you're drinking the
Society's... The Eris. They're very, very tasty Pilsner.
Yeah, just recently canned for the first time.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah,
shit.
I think they're. So I think this is how they're selling the Eris in 4-packs.
Yeah,
pints.
Yeah, 16-ounce 4-packs, and I think they just started in the last week or two.
Pretty kind of crazy looking can as far as design, but it still works. It's not like too overly crowded.
It's very much the opposite of all their other can work previously. But
yeah, this is a fucking perfect beer for a hot day. For fuck your light beers. I mean, light beers, it's water, sure. Like I played some beer pong the other day, and we didn't play actual beer pong. We played water pong because we're not gonna fucking,
Yeah, you're not trying to play the Rona Pong.
Yeah, no. But I had like Miller Lights, and I didn't realize, dude, since it's basically tasteless. Let me guess,
were you playing with Trevor since you were drinking Miller Lite?
Yes, yeah. And G6 was playing with us too. We had him as a guest. Yeah, I didn't realize. I was like, you guys, I've already slammed like 2 in like 30 minutes. This is crazy. Like, I was like, I don't even taste anything anymore.
Miller
with those beers,
super crushable. It's one of my favorite lighter beers.
Yeah,
sure.
And no, I like Miller Lite, but I'm not gonna say I like this because of the taste.
No,
you'll never hear me saying that.
Yeah, just tastes like crisp.
But yeah, Society Brewing, always good beer. Always like to support local beer. So I'm in Claremont. They're close by. They're right down the street. So
I would argue easily one of our top 5 best breweries in the city.
I would say so too. Yeah, what's the temperature right now for me? 84. It's definitely kind of warmish in my room, but I haven't really had any windows open all day for that reason. So, yeah, I'm just glad I don't have any carpet in the house because then it could be worse.
Yeah, I'm super lucky we also have hardwood out here because right now in Santee it is a nice, refreshing 91 degrees. So, and I'm inside with no fan on and all the windows closed.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this week because the pool maintenance person is going to clean out the filter, get us a new filter on Monday. I'm going to be in the pool all goddamn week. You already know.
That's the way to do it. Plus, you guys got a dope-ass pool out there, so...
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. Well, that's what's up, man. I am drinking arguably one of my go-to IPAs. Like, if I'm in a grocery store and I don't know what IPA to get, I pretty much always go with this one. It's Swami's from Pizza Port. Swami's is like... as far as I'm concerned, like the classic West Coast IPA that hasn't changed flavor significantly like a lot of the other ones have.
Coincidentally, I have some Swamis in my fridge because my brother bought some a couple days ago.
It's super affordable. It's super good. It's always fresh. It's fantastic. I think like a 6-pack of 16-ounce cans is like $13 maybe.
Yeah, I think it's like 12 something.
It's
depending
about the
which
same as a 6-pack for most places.
Yeah.
And it's just a great, like, classic San Diego IPA.
Yep.
It's definitely on the, like, more bitter hop side. It's not like any of that, like, more current, like, citra hopped, super tropical kind of stuff. It's definitely more like the old school West Coast IPA style, but, man, it's really good. And just exactly the right kind of beer for this weather.
Yep, I couldn't agree more.
Cool, man. Well, on that note, why don't we go ahead and get to our picks for this week and get into format? You want to start people off with the MMA podcast you recommend people catch this week?
Yeah, one of them I have is Heavy Hands.
That was a fun one.
I like this one because they did a bracket tournament with the catch being that every current champion in their tournament unfortunately contracted COVID-19. Unable to. I know it's a little dark, but that's the way they did it. So they started off with the bantamweight division first. In the quarterfinals, the first matchup was Rafael Sunsao versus Cody Garbrandt. They kind of broke everything down. I didn't write the breakdown notes because I'd have too many.
Well, and a lot of it is just like essentially them going through and matching up all the top 8 in every division.
Yeah. Yep, and so I think they had a Sunset knocking out Cody Garbrandt in like the second or third round in that fight.
To be fair, dude, with how Cody Garbrandt's been fighting lately.
And I'm actually really disappointed that I like Cody Garbrandt's style of fighting because he's got insanely fast hands, good inside boxing, good dirty. Good. He has good powerful hooks. The guy's got crazy power for his size. He's very fast, good footwork, good wrestling, but. Yeah, lately it's just the fight IQ hasn't been there. He's an overly emotional fighter, really.
Always has been. You could see that all the way back to the fucking water polo game against TJ, and it was tough.
In all honesty, too, I think he 100% could be the champion again if he really just kind of game plans like he did against Dominic Cruz. That's still one of the best performances in any title fight, I think, in recent memory. So I think the guy definitely has what it takes to win the belt back, and I really do think that. It just comes down to his mental preparation and as well as his body too. He's been hurt a lot. He's been banged up. He's pretty fragile lately, unfortunately.
A lot of neck issues, if I remember right.
And I know a lot of that is because he was playing football growing up, and it's a fucking dangerous sport. I mean, dude, you're fucking tackling people.
Also, he doesn't exactly come off as a dude who's like super safe about everything all the time throughout life.
Yeah, and so I feel for the guy. I wish him the best. I know I think it just got confirmed today. They're eyeing the June 6th card with him and the Sun Tzu because they're not letting that fight go. It's an important fight. So yeah, and I think he's with Mark Henry right now. He's not even at Team Alpha Male, and I think that's a good transition for him.
He needed a change of scene.
Yeah, he's got a hell of training partners out there. I think Marlon Moraes is still out there, unless he moved to ATT. I cannot remember.
He did. Him and Edson Barbosa moved to ATT.
Okay, so I know he is still with Eddie Alvarez. He's still with Frankie Edgar. He's still got a good camp out there.
Yeah, and I imagine they still
Jersey.
probably cross-train with a lot of the Cerro Longo guys.
Yeah, actually, yeah. You know, now that you said that, I think I did see a photo of him with Matt Serra and Chris Weidman. I think I could be wrong. Then speaking of Cerro Longo, Aljamain Sterling versus Corey Sandhagen was another fight in that tournament.
Fight.
Yeah, I think they got Sandhagen because of his movement and Sterling not being able to basically kind of get his hands on him.
Yeah, I think a lot of their breakdown came down to Sandhagen throwing to the body a lot and whether or not Aljo can actually get a hold of him and get him down.
They also had Piotr Jan versus Marlon Moraes. I believe they have
fight. There's so many good fights at bantamweight to make.
And I think they have Jan taking that. I think I would take Jan in that too, but barely. I don't like seeing barely.
I'm so high on Peter Jan.
Yeah. They had Jimmy Rivera absolutely demolishing Chito Vera. I don't know about absolutely demolishing. I'd see him because he's a fantastic counter striker, counter puncher, really.
Yeah,
he sets up those leg kicks well. I like Chito. He's good.
I wonder if Rivera dives into a guillotine in the second round. Is the only thing I would be curious about with that.
Then it came down to Jan versus Rivera rematch. I think they had Rivera squeaking it out because they said Jan struggled. They said Jan struggles against counterpunchers, so they like Jimmy in that rematch. I'm not sure now. I still think Jan's on fire right now.
Yeah, and also Jimmy Rivera has been looking
I know
less durable lately.
I know some might downplay his victory over Uriah Faber, saying, "Oh, he's an old man." You realize Uriah Faber, I think, has only been knocked out once before that, and he's had like 40 or 50 fights.
Yeah, and good luck putting on a better performance than that against Faber, unless you're Aldo.
Yeah,
like it's one of the clean. He didn't get
that
anything from Faber,
or that third fight with Cruz that happened.
Really, any of the fights after the first one against Cruz did not go well for Uriah.
Let me move along real quick. Then they had the lightweight. And I think the champion of bantamweight ended up being Sandhagen over Jimmy Rivera in the championship fight.
Interesting.
They said his movement's too much, and he's just he's just a lot bigger. He's physically than Rivera. I think Sandhagen's like 5'9", something like that.
Something like that. He's real big.
He's big for bantamweight. Rivera's like 5'4".
Yeah, so. I believe this was episode 313 from them, which was called Corona Clash.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'll just run through this quick. They had the lightweight tournament, which the top 8 lightweight fighters. Remember, they said, reminder, Habib is recovering from COVID.
Dude, did you hear? There's rumors right now out of
his father.
Yeah. That his dad is down with pneumonia and flu-like symptoms because Russia does not say the word COVID or Corona.
That's actually fucking sad and embarrassing, really.
It's super, super expected, though, right? It's how they've done everything throughout the history of time. It's like China. It's like, yeah, China really, really, really tried not to.
They're like, China, we don't have any current illnesses. No, we're good now.
Well, my favorite that everybody's like, oh, yo, bro, Africa, for the longest time, people were like, we should just do fights in Africa. Africa has 0 cases. You're like, nobody's getting tested fucking a month ago in Africa. That shit was not happening, so... I love that everywhere is like, oh, there were 0 confirmed cases there. You're like, yeah, I don't care about the number of cases. How many tests have been done in those locations?
Oh, I got so
also, shouts out to Dear Leader for eating the fucking bullet finally. The cocksucker Kim Jong-il, whatever the young one is.
So
died.
I don't know if it's confirmed that he's dead.
I'm going to go ahead and fucking call Ding Dong the Witch is Dead.
I already texted a group of my friends making a joke. I said, hey, should my new gamer tag or PSN name be Kim Jong Veggie?
Pretty good.
Maybe.
How about Kim Jong-il?
Yeah, that's actually really fucking
It's pretty good.
Or if it's just do Kim Jong-Ilmatic for all you Nas fans out there,
There
right?
you go. There you go. Yo.
Anyways, it just, yeah, I
One
already saw
Mike, one
tweets.
Korea. You know what I'm saying?
Someone fucking tweeted at James Franco at Seth Rogen, good job, guys. Mission accomplished.
That's so fucking stupid. That's hilarious, but so stupid. Oh, that movie's underrated. That movie's
It's
actually way more
actually-
fun than it has any right to be.
It's one of those movies where you watch it, you're like, this is fucking dumb,
really
but you still
stupid.
laugh.
Yeah.
That's how it is to Step Brothers. Like, people will say, oh, what was your favorite comedy from 2008? And for me, I'm going, Tropic Thunder, 1,000%. Some people say Pineapple Express. Some people say Step Brothers. Step Brothers, it's funny, but it's also kind of stupid. I don't know.
But John C. Reilly is so fucking good in everything he's ever done.
Oh, yeah.
I love John C. Reilly.
Anyways, so the first fight they had is not Daniel Poirier, Jesus, Dustin Poirier beating Dan Hooker.
I didn't know we're just combining all the Louisiana fighters into one person.
Yeah, right. Who's next? Dustin Cormier.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, they acknowledge Dan Hooker's long and rangy.
Is that John Jones' nickname?
No, his is
Poirier?
my favorite one I saw on Twitter.
Dustin and Poirier.
My favorite one I saw was Anderson Aldo from like years ago.
Yeah.
That's
I guess you could call Khabib Dustin Poirier because he ran through that motherfucker.
Yeah. But yeah, they have Dustin Poirier. They said he beats Hooker. They just don't like Hooker's chances unless he can point fight and just kind of keep away. They both have Justin Gaethje.
Some really hard style matchups in that division.
And they both have Justin Gaethje beating Tony. They think he knocks out Tony.
Dude, I do too, and it fucking sucks.
It's bullshit. I don't want to dab it.
On May 9th.
Yeah. They say Tony's not a react. They said they don't even think Tony's in his prime anymore. I don't know if I'd go that far. He's still fucking
and hurt in every fight recently.
Yeah, that is true though, because I did go back and watch some fights on Fight Pass with Trevor and Kyle, and dude, Tony ate some fucking head kicks clean from Barboza and kept going forward.
Barboza, Lando Venata, fucking he got rocked a little bit by Pettis. He's eaten some fucking damage in his recent fights.
I think though, and I think the fight is going to happen at this point because Florida. I mean, so I think the fight.
That's the only X factor. Yeah, is Florida. Because
no, I think the fight will happen because Florida clearly doesn't care.
No,
and when we do preview that fight, I'm probably going to spoil it. I'm probably going to choose Ferguson, but I think he's going to try and he's going to grapple, and we're going to finally. And I want this to happen. I want to see Gaethje threatened by the wrestling. I need to see that in my life.
I mean, the Palomino fights had some wrestling in it for sure, where he had to fight off more takedowns.
I know. Actually, Alvarez shot on Gaethje, and his sprawl was just fucking
Gaethje's
so god.
Lights out in takedown defense. Yeah, especially since he puts so much pressure, but he stays real top heavy. And he's really good at framing off when dudes shoot in. And
so the silver lining is that besides us needing Tony versus Khabib, Tony and Gaethje is such a banger of a fight too. So
one of the most bangers you can book.
Yeah.
For the entire roster. Yeah.
Anyways, this is going to be. I don't want to say too much on this because they kept going with this, but let me just go forward. They had Charles Oliveira, or as they call him, Chucky Olives versus Conor McGregor. Right. I think that's a kind of an interesting matchup.
Well, no, it's not because Conor's the best. The one sub he's so good at defending against is guillotines, because he does the same thing every time and it works every time. Something a lot of Uriah Faber's opponents do, where essentially if you get caught in a guillotine, you just go straight to your back, because a lot of times it's front headlock series. So it's someone catching a guillotine from a front headlock. You can see it in the Mendez fight is the clearest example of it. But Mendez steps over, tries to get the guillotine while Conor's on his back. Conor rolls and turns, because if you rotate your neck, you cut off the choke, and then he escapes that way. It's one of his best defenses.
So the way they went with this, I mean, if you ask me right now, who's going to win? Oliveira McGregor, Tim McGregor wins. They have him. They have him winning that via knockout. I think in the end of the first or early in the second. Yeah. Next fight they had is Diego Ferreira against Paul Felder. Awesome. I think they had Ferreira via sub. He moves on. Dustin Poirier versus Justin Gaethje rematch. This time they take Justin Gaethje because of his. They really believe in Trevor Whitman being able to kind of evaluate the way they really came down to. They said, do you realize how close that first fight was? Did you see Justin Poirier? I keep saying Dustin Poirier's legs. Like that, his inside of his thigh, and the damage still that both were landing on each other. And so they like Gaethje in that rematch, and that's not a bad call. Yeah. Then it comes down to Diego Ferreira versus Conor McGregor. They take Ferreira via sub. I don't. I don't.
No, I do too.
I mean, I could see it. Yeah,
he's tough as shit. He can eat a shot. Yeah. He's really good at catching punches on top of his head. And if he gets Conor on the ground, Conor's.
So I wrote down here. They said they like the upset because they said Conor will knock him down, like he'll get a knockdown. But they said, jump into his guard and submit him. Wow. I could see that. Yeah. And then after that, they said Justin Gaethje knocks out Ferreira to become the champ. So Justin Gaethje is your heavy hands lightweight champion of the world.
I think Gaethje or Poirier would be a really hard out for Ferreira.
Then I'll just breeze through this. They got the welterweight tournament. They have Jorge Masvidal start off against former champion Tyron Woodley. They have Woodley. They said Woodley just coast by Masvidal. I don't know if he would coast by him, unless he just puts on a wrestling clinic. But Masvidal.
I just don't think Masvidal is going to be active enough. I think Masvidal is definitely going to win the shit out of the first round and then not do anything for the next two and lose.
That's just it's just always going to be his.
That he has two ways of fighting. Either he wins the first round and coasts, or he has to come from behind and win the last two.
Like what he did to Nate Diaz impressed me because wow, Jorge's actually pouring it on in all three rounds.
Yeah, and he got consistent pressure, consistent volume. Yeah, it was impressive.
So
we'll
see.
There to be hit too, which is part of the thing.
Yeah,
and wasn't it was that late notice? Because didn't that card get scrapped and then remade?
No, they made that in July, and it happened in the fall.
I guess you're right.
Yeah,
I'm so fucked up on like the order of how cards have happened recently.
Then they had Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington. Said this is their favorite fight in all the tournaments, just because of the lead up to it. In the end, they had Edwards by decision because they love Colby's pace. They said it'd be a very close fight. I agree.
I think it'd be an awesome fight. Yeah.
Yeah. They said Wonder Boy. They said Wonder Boy knocks out Michael Chiesa very handily. Handed. Yeah. I don't know about. They just said he beats him easily. That's what they said.
That's a hard out for Michael Chiesa, who is always available to eat leg kicks and body shots forever for all of time.
Then they had Jeff Neal versus Gilbert Burns.
That's a dope fight, dude.
They said Jeff Neal has too much power. He's arguably the most aggressive welterweight when moving forward. Yeah. And they said there's no way. They said it's just inevitable that he catches Burns because Burns' striking has gotten better for sure.
Yeah, Burns
but Neal has just so dynamite. They said you just don't do that to someone like Mike Perry, who's someone who doesn't get knocked out. And especially against Nike Pierce too.
Smoked Mike Perry in that fight.
Yeah, I was like, wow, that just happened.
Yeah.
Then you go to Leon Edwards versus Woodley, the fight that was supposed to happen. They said they like Edwards a lot mostly because of his clinch fighting.
Volume. I gotta give him.
Then you get Wonder Boy versus Neal. They said this was the toughest fight to pick in all the tournaments, just all together. So they ended up flipping a coin.
Did they really?
I
don't call the first quarter of this.
Yeah, so Wonder Boy beats Neal via coin flip, and then you get Wonder Boy versus Leon in the
that
final.
Coin is fucking wrong.
Yeah. Oh no, I would.
What year is it? Everybody remembers that Wonder Man is like almost 40, right? It's 38.
Yeah, he's like 38. He's like the same age as Woodley.
Yeah, he's like 3 years younger than DC.
People don't realize too that John Jones is younger than like Dillashaw and Cruz.
Yeah. Way younger than Cruz. And people don't realize Cruz isn't that old either. Cruz is like a couple years older than I am.
Yeah. So anyways, you got Wonder Boy versus Leon in the final, and they took Leon. So Leon Edwards is the champion at welterweight. And that was their tournament. So you got Leon Edwards, Justin Gaethje, and Corey Sandhagen.
That's cool, man. I really liked that episode from the bit I heard, but after hearing you walk through it, I'm going to have to go back and listen to that because that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a fun one.
Cool, man. So let's see. I'll get into one of my catches since I have two for this week, and I'll go with a fun one as well. The co-main event, on their Patreon every Friday, they do a Power Hour. Sometimes it's the Power Hour Power Rankings. Arguably the best worst name in MMA podcasting is the Power Hour Power Rankings. However, this week they did the Essential Tank Abbott series, where they just went back and watched a fuckload of Tank Abbott fights. They watched his run at UFC 6. They watched the Ultimate 96 run, Tank vs. Vitor, Tank vs. Maurice Smith, and Tank vs. Cabbage 1 and 2. And it's just awesome. I love Tank Abbott fights. I love Tank Abbott. I think Tank Abbott is, while he is absolutely not a great dude, depending on who you are and what year you met him in, he also is a super fascinating individual and is absolutely the kind of like broken hero that MMA needed in the early days, where he is just real reprehensible on a lot of levels, but all, you know what, like Barroom Brawler, I think was the name of his book that the CME guys did a book club for, about a fictional character that's not named Tank Abbott that weirdly is a lot like Tank Abbott and written by Tank Abbott. And it's, the dude is just kind of a fascinating character, and I think a lot of, in retrospect, you forget how many just like jiffable moments this dude had with that throughout his career. And like to this day, like if that dude just came along and did he was the OG Mike Perry. Like he was the OG dude who's gonna come in, clown fools, make dumb jokes, make some weird gay sex jokes that you're not sure what way it's gonna turn. Like maybe he'll fuck a dude or maybe he won't, but he's definitely gonna make the joke just to see how you react. And I'm here for it. Plus, at one point, I believe they tell a story about Big John quoting one of the Puerto Rico events that Tank Abbott was at. He was like, "Oh, Tank was over doing his thing with the vodka like he does." And you're like, "Oh boy, if Big John's quoting saying Tank was over doing the thing with vodka that he does, that's good shit." So I'm a big Tank Abbott fan, and honestly, dude, all of the dude's fights, even when they didn't go his way, were fucking entertaining as shit. So I absolutely recommend checking out Power Hour, the co-main event Power Hour, the Essential Tank Abbott episode, because honestly, it's just a lot of fun. Like, I just had a great time watching it.
All I know is I hope at some point Tank Abbott threw around Tito during sparring at some point, because I imagine they had to spar against each other, but I was supposed to say...
Yeah, they're both. Tank Abbott was pissed because he was the Huntington Beach bad boy, and then Tito came out and started using the name, and they trained together as kid, like when Tito was a kid. I believe like right around the time of the Lions Den and all that shit, if I remember right. It was the early days of Huntington Beach, because Tank was just known as a dude in Huntington. Jeff Sherwood grew up in Huntington, or not grew up, but lived in Huntington Beach in the early days of the UFC, and he's like, yeah, Tank was just known as a guy who would just be like around at bars who would fuck people up on the street all the time. That was just like who Tank was, and Tank's like good friends with Jeff Sherwood. Like they're really good friends. And yeah.
By the way, what are the odds on Tito potentially drinking some Lysol to kill the COVID?
0%. But what are the odds of him making a video where he questions why more people aren't doing it? Because it's definitely a good idea. That's already probably happened.
Yeah.
Tito.
Oh yeah.
I love that all the people were like, yeah. Anyway, a lot of people out there making a lot of backing up dudes talking about drinking fucking solvents. I don't see a lot of people drinking fucking solvents though. I see a lot of people talking on Twitter about how you need to respect authority of certain people, but I don't see them drinking solvents.
So I saw some meme. It showed a picture of
was it Angela
our
Magana
president
upside down pouring bleach into her asshole, because that was a picture that came out this week.
No, that sounds wow.
I believe the quote was, "Am I doing it right, Mr. Trump?"
Jesus. No, I was going to say it was a picture of Trump holding up like a McAfee antivirus package. And it's like,
definitely
shove this
reliable
disc up your ass and you're good to go.
Yeah. Well, McAfee, the dude who likes getting shit on by 16-year-olds in foreign countries, super respectable individual to be.
Oh, wait, is that piece of shit the same guy who actually did the antivirus?
Oh, yeah. He sold that company. He hasn't owned it forever. And now he just makes troll ads from like Bolivia or wherever, where he's just like having 16-year-olds shit on him through hammocks and weird shit like that. And just like doing I believe he was making bath salts at one point.
That sounds all very upsetting.
Yeah. And he was making like fuck you ads against Norton Antivirus. He was like, hey, people write me emails about Norton Antivirus. I sold that shit forever ago and I don't fucking care. Here's a bunch of naked ladies with me doing coke off. You're like, what the fuck?
The one nice thing about having a Mac is I don't get any of that bullshit. Hey, let's try to force install McAfee on your computer.
I feel like everybody stopped doing that because no one buys it anymore. No one's like, oh yeah, Norton Antivirus. That's legit.
I don't even know what's considered the best antivirus that you could purchase. I bought Byte Defender, which is phenomenal for Mac because it was like 60% off. I'm like, oh well, fuck it.
I mean, most antivirus stuff is like good until it isn't. Most of the free stuff does.
Yeah.
Like I'll use Avast every once in a while.
Yeah.
What is it?
That's what I used when I had a PC. So
I want to say Nod 32 might be a
Nod 32 is really, really good.
That's like the one that all the tech people I know use.
No, Nod 32 is really good.
Yeah, and you can get commercial licenses for that, which I know a lot of people I know use that.
Yeah, shouts out to Byte Defender because they gave me 5 more like. They said basically if you have 5 more like Apple products, you want So I should just hit up my aunt. She has a MacBook. I'm like, do you want antivirus? Let's give it to you. You know, fuck it, some shit. Or I don't know who else has a MacBook, but yeah.
White people. Think about white people. That's who has MacBook.
There we go. Well, I could, or the honest, most journalists. That's really.
I know,
the real
and
answer.
it's so fucking sad, dude. But you know why? It's because most journalists use their computer for Twitter.
The only real reason why I got one too is because it's just easier for me, as far as a writing setup, and because I used it at fucking school.
Well, and most journalists and writers in general use their computers mostly for writing.
By the way, speaking of using my computer for writing, I haven't been using it for writing, which I should be, at least creative writing.
Emulators, though, I've heard.
Oh, yeah, I guess I was playing yesterday. Phenomenal game, because I never had a PS1. Fucking Metal Gear Solid 1.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Just wow.
Oh, my God.
Legitimately a fantastic game. I was like, dude, this is like, how did this look that good? Like, this looks great now. And this was in 1998? Like, oh, my God.
Well, the emulator you're using might be up-resing some of the stuff.
Yeah, you're probably right.
It's probably up-resing and scaling and doing some like soft visual effects stuff because a lot of them do that nowadays. Dolphin Emulator has some incredible stuff to up-res and clean up images. But that game's awesome. Have you gotten to I don't want to give away the thing.
I'm still in the beginning. It's at the part where you talk to the chief DARPA guy and he tells you about like the keys for Metal Gear Rex.
So way in the beginning.
I'm in the beginning. Yeah, the chick, he's like, you don't know how to use that gun, rookie. Take the safety off. And like there's people coming, and I'm just like, bam, bam, bam. You know, they come in and.
Let me know when you get so confused at the Mantis boss fight.
Oh, Psycho Mantis. Yeah. I know.
Okay, you know about it
because I played most of Metal Gear Solid 5. Which I couldn't get to because I already figured out the twist at the beginning of the game. I'm like, that's fucking Kiefer Sutherland leading you out. That's literally fucking Naked Snake. So who the fuck are you, right? And then I looked up. I'm like, oh yeah, you're a double. Great, I already figured it out.
Spoiler alert for Metal Gear Solid 5. Yo.
Oh, yeah. Do we get edit this out?
No, we're not editing shit out. Also, if you haven't played Metal Gear Solid 5, the story is the worst part about that game. By far. The gameplay is incredible. It's one of the best shooters of all time. One of the best sandbox. I don't even know how to describe it. I
thought the sandbox was kind of boring, but I guess I'm just talking shit about the 1988 Afghanistan is boring, but I don't know.
I don't know, dude. When I could just have a fucking helicopter fly in playing the final countdown and I can ship off goats or whatever and I can just balloon them into the air, I'm fucking
that was pretty fun. Yeah, and I got that pet dog, which is pretty badass.
At one point, grow up. Yeah. Fucking V-Dog?
Yeah.
Is that what it was? I know at a certain point I changed the music to the Arrested Development theme song for the chopper, so every time it came in, it was just boo-doo.
That's actually pretty amazing.
It was great. Well, because I did the final countdown because of Job over and over again, and then I was playing the PC version, so I'm like, you know what? I should just use the Arrested Development theme song, and it's fucking great. That game's a lot of fun. Anyway, not a video game podcast, so we'll keep on moving on, but yeah, man, that shit's good. Also, if you guys are looking for games to play, Cook Serve Delicious on Steam 1, 2, and 3 is fucking awesome. Imagine Typing of the Dead, but a restaurant sim. It's like the best way I could describe it. Or like any of those I mean, really any typing game. Typing of the Dead is the go-to version I use because imagine House of the Dead, like the arcade point and gun, like a light ray gun game, back in the day.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I remember playing those at like Dave and Buster's and shit, or Chuck E. Cheese, whatever the fuck.
Yeah, and they made one called Typing of the Dead on, I believe, PC back in the day. I want to say it came to like Xbox or something weird but you had to have the USB keyboard. But essentially, you type words and it kills zombies. But it's like a bunch of like punny fucking 70s schlock horror stuff. So it's a lot of fun. But Cook Serve Delicious is essentially, if you were to build an entire game, like an entire restaurant sim game about making food, but you were to do it all on keyboard-based commands. So like ketchup is going to be K, or like you have to dunk the fry. You have to place 3 fries in 3 fryers, dunk the fries, take orders, serve orders, all that shit. And it's just like, I don't know, something about it is super relaxing, so I recommend the hell out of that. It's a lot of fun. It'll run on basically any computer. The third one is on Steam. I'm sure the first 2 are like dirt cheap, and they're super fun. And the third one just came out, and I want to say Chubigins is the guy who makes that game. But yeah, super fun. Anyway, Chris, do you have another catch for this week?
Not necessarily.
Okay, I got another one that we can get to then.
Yeah.
I listened to Severe MMA episode 257, the media special with Philip O'Connor from last week. Or from last Saturday, I want to say it was. Since I think Shawnee has switched from Sundays to Saturdays since he's not having to record the podcast after a card happens, which has been interesting. It's always interesting when podcasts change the day they record and release on, because then it changes the day I end up listening to it. Like previously, before the pandemic stuff, I was listening to this Severe MMA most of the time on Sundays or on Mondays, like for the next week, whereas now I'm listening to it like on Saturdays because it's covering that week. So if I listen to it next Saturday or next week, it's gonna be not out of date, but definitely like less relevant. So that's been interesting. But overall, I just really like this episode because it talks a lot about the importance of, I mean, there's a lot of coronavirus talk up top, so full warning if you're not interested in that shit, probably not the episode to go to. Like, I'll just talk off top about the importance of listening to scientists and epidemiologists over some fucking dude on Twitter who thinks drinking bleach is cool, who, spoiler, also works for the bleach company. So
maybe he's just trying to get himself fired.
Yeah, 100%. But a lot of the main focus of this episode is journalists acting like journalists, and just kind of the importance of independent media as a whole, which has kind of been a through topic in a lot of podcasts recently. And I don't know if that's just because those are the types of podcasts I'm specifically seeking out right now, because I am. I feel like independent media right now is more vital and important than it ever has been, especially in the MMA sphere, where we're getting, I'll say, compromised reporting generally in the MMA space, but especially right now, it's becoming very clear that companies who are owned by corporations, specifically corporations who are ad-driven, are basically falling apart at the seams. I mean, John Morgan's gotten furloughed 2 of the last 3 weeks. Which, if fucking John Morgan's getting, which I'm not putting that out there. He put it out there on his podcast, otherwise I wouldn't mention it. But if John fucking Morgan has been furloughed by MMA Junkie for the last 2 out of 3 weeks, everybody's getting furloughed.
Yeah, like, 100%.
Unless you're independent media and you're a type of website where it's not based off clicks, really. It's based off just like quality of content and like relationships with advertisers, that kind of thing. Not just like ad-driven content based off Google Analytics type shit. I feel like you're starting to see very clearly that a lot of these independent journalists are not only doing way better work, but also just kind of care about the audience more. They care about the fans more. Maybe not the mouth-breathing fans on Twitter, but the actual like people who care about the sport. And so it's interesting hearing a lot of people like Severe MMA or The Fight Site, Michael Fidel, who will come up later.
Yep.
Just a lot of people in general who it's interesting to see independent media really step to the fucking plate in a real serious way that we haven't really seen in MMA before, outside of like the basically Sherdog. I mean, there is other sites. Bloody Elbow's definitely done a big part of that, but the go-to example of media stepping up and reporting shit that people don't want to hear is probably Bloody Elbow and Sherdog. And there's a reason why
easily that.
There's a reason why those people from those sites are still creating the best content to this day, whether they're still with those sites or not. It's because they're real fucking journalists. And I feel like the sport has a giant lack of real journalists and a giant need for real journalists. And so it's very cool to see independent journalists who don't have money or really anything other than skin in the game, and they just want to see it fucking treated the way it should be treated. So that's what a lot of the focus around this Severe MMA episode is. A lot of talk about stuff like lazy clickbait using Connor's name is way down, and the websites who are doing it are getting real gross looking. And just a long discussion about giving managers preferential treatment to not lose access, the importance of questioning journalists and broadcasters whose company is partners with the organizations or leagues that they're involved with. Like ESPN is, of course, the best example right now, where Brett Okamoto essentially does PR now. Yeah, like he was a legit journalist for a while. Like you and I really liked. Remember how you used to have the podcast 5 Rounds? We're big fans of it.
Yeah, it was great. His co-host was annoying, but he was great.
Yeah, well, that was in the later days. Yeah, that dude. Well, was that RJ Clifford? Who was that?
I can't fucking remember that guy's name. He's annoying as shit. He's the one who always kept bringing up Mayweather for no fucking reason.
Oh, wait. So you're telling me that maybe Brett listened to that dude too much? Because now that I think about it, that dude was exactly what Brett sounds like nowadays. Where it's just like, oh, let's just talk about the names that get more numbers go up. So, yeah. I don't know. Also, they did use the phrase this week that I really appreciated and that I've been using on Twitter, is that MMA needs adults in the room. Clearly, because journalists especially have just not... They clearly just needed an adult in the room to be like, hey, by the way, you know that's not your job, right? Like, you know that you doing that job that you're doing is not helping anybody but you. And, like, no one should be happy with your work because of that. And so I just appreciate those kind of open discussions, especially, I mean, Sean Sheen's been leading that charge as far as I'm concerned. And of course, full disclosure, as always, I've been talking to Sean Sheen a lot over the last couple of weeks. I mean, not like consistently or anything, but just like shooting him stuff here and there. And so full disclosure on all that. But honestly, if I hadn't been talking to Sean at all, or if Sean hated me, it's just still it's just really interesting conversations that need to be had in the sport that I feel like are becoming not only more relevant, but more prominent in the sport. And so, yeah, big shouts to Severe MMA, episode 257. Doing good fucking work.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. I have been skipping our skips during the pandemic. Mostly, because I want everybody to put out content, even if some of you, I think, are putting out fucking hurtful content that doesn't really help anybody other than your fucking paycheck. But Chris, do you have any skips, since I'm not putting that fucking restriction on you?
No
one in particular.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I do, but I don't. I'm not going to say their name.
Go ahead and say it. Go ahead and say it.
I listen to them every week, either way.
That's good, because hey, I listen to a lot of shows that I don't agree with, and it still helps inform not only my views.
And it's not because I don't agree with what they're saying. It's because it's always, every time, and they admit this every time. The first hour of our podcast, we just say whatever the fuck we want. So you already know who I'm talking about.
Let me guess. Does it involve a British man and a Puerto Rican rattlesnake?
Exactly.
To be fair, I do love that Bisping just keeps shitting on Lewis for being an idiot.
Oh, he bet him this week. He said, I bet you $1,000. No, Lewis bet Michael, I bet you $1,000 you could not start a fire with a magnifying glass properly.
I've done it. I swung weed with magnifying glass before. It's really easy.
Yeah, dude. Getting solar blades.
It's really easy. All you have to do is figure out how to pinpoint. You just do this enough times with the magnifying glass till you pinpoint the heat source, and then it starts melting shit. It's very easy.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, are you telling me? Oh, wait, never mind. I just realized. I was going to say, are you telling me Lewis never lit anything on fire as a kid with a magnifying glass? But no, Lewis obviously had matches. Lewis did not have time for any bullshit magnifying glass. That dude was taking like fucking butane torches to Barbies, I'm sure. So
yeah. I'll quickly mention I do have another catch, but it has to do with our intro, so I can maybe talk about that.
That's actually a great segue because my can't miss for this week is our intro, the Fight Sites MMA podcast, bonus episode 2 with Michael Fidel.
Really good.
It's fucking great, right?
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. And I don't mean this in any sort of like diminishing fashion or condescending way. It reminded me of being in school by the way this dude talked, and
he's a freshman in college right now.
That's the main reason why I say that. I was like thinking, damn, this dude reminds me of like me being in class.
He sounds kind of like you. Like brings up a lot of the same talking points that you brought up when you were in school when we were doing podcasts.
Yeah, let me read up where I wrote it down. Yeah, he said, what did he say? I said this before. Transparency is the biggest thing that you really need when reporting. 100%. But he said dereliction of duty. I haven't heard that phrase in probably like 5 or 6 years. I was like, holy shit!
A gorgeous. I believe I have the exact quote. I believe it. This is a paraphrasing of the quote, but it was something along the lines of not covering people like Kadyrov is a dereliction of journalistic duty. Which,
yeah,
100% factual. That's just facts.
And the one I quoted here, he said, "Adversarial reporting and factual reporting should come before access." It's like, yeah,
100%,
1,000%. Yeah, like,
I mean, because that's the most useful. Like, access reporting generally doesn't do shit for anybody but the reporter and the person being interviewed. Because it's PR. Yeah, so it doesn't help the audience. It doesn't really help the promotion even, really, I would argue. All it really does is help the two people involved. Whereas actual, factual, like, real journalism helps the entire sport and the audience understand better, not just the different ties between people, but also just fucking situations that need to be addressed. To, like, oh man, I'm going to make a terrible analogy right now. That is not at all pertaining to our current situation, but sunlight's the best disinfectant. And I'm not saying you should fucking deep throat UV lights, but I am saying that 100% bringing light to things and bringing things to public attention is what helps things get better. It's what helps things not be fucked up in the future. And it's a very, very interesting conversation about the role of journalism in the sport and how it needs to change.
Yeah, brought up a lot of good talk, a lot of good speaking points, a lot of good counterpoints to the analyst point of view, or I should say approach as to how they really not just cover the sport, but kind of just represent it. And he mostly, I think it was comparisons between, and I'm not going to call them talking heads, I'll call them analysts, desk analysts, right, on whether it was Fox or ESPN. Yeah, reporters versus, because you can still very well be a reporter and a journalist. That's like, very much a thing. That's called broadcast journalism.
Yeah, but like sideline reporters are not journalists.
Yeah, no, for the most part, not. Unless, sure, if they're actually fighting on the side, then yeah, they are. That's great. It's good that you can do multiple roles in that fashion. It's actually better for you if you can or if you have the time. Well, that's mainly what it is. You have the time.
It saves you from the company's backlash in the long run.
That too, especially just your image. You know, whether you're on TV or
journalistic integrity.
It's integrity, because if you slip up or have if you have a fucked up interview, then it's like, okay, well,
it also, you have an outlet to voice your actual opinions outside of. You know, that's why I think it's important for a lot of journalists, even if they are at big sites, to have independent podcasts from those sites. Like, I think that's a good thing for those journalists to do.
And I honestly will, and I don't, it really depends with my whole thing, if I want to pursue, say, as a journalist, I told you I want to do music journalism, right? But say I still love sports. If I want to do sports, I'm probably not going to do MMA. Mainly because I've said a lot of stuff on here. I mean, I can.
Well, no, I mean, why do MMA? Like,
yeah,
there's so many arguments against being involved in MMA journalism.
Yeah, and so now that you say that, it's good that you bring that point up, because even say I did pursue a career in MMA journalism, There's only a handful of real outlets that I can go to,
And
say
you're
they
not gonna
want to
get
be
paid
right,
by any of the ones who are
But-
going to let you write what you want.
I wouldn't get paid shit, which that's the main thing. But so I remember people asking, "Why are you a journalist, bro? They don't get paid." I'm like, I know that. That's not the point. My point is the UFC and even in Bellator. Look at how some of the top journalists have been treated in general. Your credentials, it's just not respected in the sport of mixed martial arts.
Well, and to be
I'll
fair,
say that-
Bellator's definitely gotten more. Bellator's
Yeah.
definitely way more respectful towards journalists. They're actually really good about giving access to smaller sites as well. Part of that's because they need the coverage, good or bad. They just need the coverage. But yeah, no, 100%. Especially the UFC,
Well, no.
have notoriously treated journalists like lesser human beings.
Yeah,
Not
but
even-
I
just
was-
in general.
Yeah, and what I was getting at is, I think at some point, I don't know how soon, because I'm still gonna always do this with you. This is always fun, but yeah, maybe I will have my own independent podcast as well, right? But when I'm just as a journalist talking about, oh, this is what I found today, blah blah, here I interviewed. If I want to pursue that, right? There's a lot of different angles I can go with the journalist route. I can fucking be a journalist for wildlife conservation shit. It doesn't really matter, You
Yeah.
can do so many different things. But yeah, at this point in time, do I want to be an MMA journalist? No, I don't. No, it's just not. There's so many other things. I'd honestly rather be an NFL journalist if I can get into that.
MLB, yeah.
Major League Baseball. I would 1,000%. I'm doing baseball.
Who also-
because guess what?
Yeah.
More coverage throughout the year. Sure, MMA is a year long too, but baseball they'd be like, all right, go to this game, go to that game.
Yeah, but also, and also there's rules to the way you treat journalists in those sports. Because there's unions and there's fucking deals with promotions and
the Major League
promoters.
Baseball Players Association
And
one
the
of the best
journalist
unions in
associations
all.
and shit.
Yeah,
Which
So-
MMA has theoretically a journalist association that's
Like,
never
it's-
done
it's-
anything.
It's funny in free agency every year in Major League Baseball. Some people, it's mostly on Twitter, they'll shit on some of Major League Baseball's best journalists and insiders, like Jeff Passan, great. Bob Nightingale. The reason why Bob Nightingale may or may not get made fun of is because he'll have a certain report and maybe he's wrong or half right. People are like, "Oh, you're not credible." It's like, no, he was credible in what he reported, except he just wasn't right, and that's the gamble. So it's just almost kind of
100%.
insane
Well,
how some
Meltzer
people.
is a good example of that in MMA.
Yeah, and another shout out to Buster Olney. Always has good insight in Major League Baseball if you're a baseball guy. So, but yeah, it was a good podcast. This kid Michael Fidel, he's only a freshman. I wish I had the maturity and kind of real
Poise,
reserve.
I
Yeah,
think
just
is probably
poise or
best.
I don't want to say the word gumption, but I guess he just kind of more has
Sureness.
confidence. Really, the
Yeah,
kid just knows what the
confidence is
fuck
the
he's
right
already
word.
doing. Yeah, he's like probably if he's a freshman, it means he's either 18, 19 at the oldest,
Yeah.
which is crazy. That's me 10 years ago. I'm like almost 10 years ago. I'm 19. Like I was just joking. I wasn't doing shit.
Well,
I was
I've been
dating
following
teachers.
dude's work for a couple years. Like it feels like it's got to be at least it's over a year that I've been following his work, probably closer to 2. And he's fucking great, dude. Like I've been very high on his. He's the one. You probably remember a while back. He wrote an article. He's the one who did a big story on Ali and quoted some of our numbers that we put out about how many. I believe he used our numbers to look into it further, something along those lines, because he was liking some of our tweets when we were talking about how many of the fighters in the PFL Ali has ties to, and how fucked up that relationship is. Which also something that not related to this, but only slightly. Trent Reinsmith this week, who I should just always say listen to Trent Reinsmith's podcast. Come on now. And I don't have a specific one, but he brought up the idea of something that's really scary that we need to keep an eye on. So you heard the PFL is paying fighters a stipend, right?
I didn't read or see
They put out a statement saying they're going to give fighters $1,000 a month stipend.
Oh yeah, no.
off.
Okay, I did see that. Yeah,
Did you see where they cut a third of their roster?
No.
They did that after they announced the stipend because obviously
It's
you want
like,
all the
okay,
good
then that's
press and
because
then
I
hide the
remember when I
bad
saw.
press.
I was thinking, how can they afford that?
Yeah, no, you cut a third of your roster, and also they don't have a giant roster anyway. So paying, I don't know, it's probably going to cost them like.
Yeah.
So we'll say it'll cost them $100,000 a month. I don't think it will, because I don't think they have 300 people on roster, or even 200 people on roster. But something that's interesting is it'd be real interesting to see how many Ali fighters get cut compared to everybody else, which is something that
Not a
Trent
lot.
Reinsmith brought up, and that I didn't think about it, but the second he said it, I was like, oh shit, that's right. There's a reason why Ali, I believe they probably very clearly didn't let him have fighters in certain divisions in the PFL, just so that he couldn't have giant amounts of paychecks coming from every single division. Because there's like big gaps where he has people that you know could make good money at the PFL in that division, and they're just weirdly not fighting in the PFL. But yeah, I thought that was interesting for sure. But anyway, back to the Fight Sites MMA podcast bonus episode 2 with Michael Fidel. Just really good, and he actually tweeted to us saying that he's going to start doing some more podcast content here shortly with interviews and stuff. So I'm really excited about that because even though sharp as fuck.
And I'll mention this just because I think it's right too. He talked about how he had a sit-down interview with Greg Hardy
that was
of
cool.
American Top Team, and that I like that he did that. I like that he explained how that went. Because like if you ask me right now, if I told you, hey, I have an interview with Greg Hardy, obviously as part of my job, I can't tell you, what he said unless part of it's published. Sure, then it becomes public. But yeah, I wouldn't tell you what he said or how it went. I could tell you maybe I asked him some straightforward and factual questions. Does he have to answer them? No. And that's his right.
And that's
that's
the gig, dude. Like that's all I want
part of the
journalists.
job.
Like you don't have to press, you don't have to be a dick, but you have to ask the question. Let them say no. That's the job. Like that's what every other sport does. Is you ask the hard question, they say no. You say, do you have any other feelings you want to express about this topic? They say no, and you move the fuck on. That's fine. That's the job.
Yeah.
Just no one's doing the job.
Like this. Me be not doing my job. Like, oh really? So because then now you're out of. You're not even in your fucking profession. You're literally pressing.
You're forcing an answer. You're
being a shithead. You can't do that.
And it's also it actually ruins the integrity of the response by pushing that, right? Like it no longer becomes a credible response if you're pushing that hard for a narrative. Right?
Yeah, you poison that well.
Exactly.
However you want. Exactly. It's like you're fucked now. It's like, well, now it doesn't matter what the fuck you ask because you're just he can't. Now they're gonna whoever you're interviewing is gonna anticipate you not being credible in whatever you ask them. It's like, oh, are you gonna ask some more misty bullshit or something or something?
That's exactly why I could never be a journalist. It's because I don't have the fucking patience or integrity to not be like, hey, so you're kind of a dick. But
no, I remember. In community college, I wrote an article about my feelings.
How you didn't call it junior college, even though it's definitely what it is.
It's junior college, right? It's
high school with ashtrays, as Adam Carolla likes to say.
No, you're absolutely right. Shouts out to Mesa College.
Literally 13th grade, as far as I can tell, when I went to Mesa.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, it was literally just all the same people I was in school with the year before, except we're all smoking in school now.
Yeah. No, dude, you don't have to tell me. I remember I would literally get out of class, a night class I had, to go to Players to like hang out with like Trevor and everyone. I'm gonna go get a beer.
Waiting for you guys to get there, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I remember like I get a text from like, it'd be like Blake Trevor, it'd be like Players, and I'm just like this in the back of the class, just walking the fuck out.
Players was the fucking best, dude. Do they still have the one out in wherever it is, El Cajon or whatever?
In San Marcos? I think I kind of want to. I cut whenever things, and remember things aren't gonna be back to normal. But if that's still there, I kind of want to check it out. Dude, I know it's a hell of a drive.
Me too. I hope that one dude's still working there. Who's like this? Josh, maybe was his name. The main bartender at the one in Claremont that we like. You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
There was one guy that worked there.
There's the white dude with the hair. I mean, that doesn't really help, but yeah.
When I used to golf at Tech, when I was still actually golfing, he would be there a lot, and I would kind of just shit with him. Yeah, he was a golfer.
A sweetheart. That dude was so nice. Like
he also worked. I remember he worked in Old Town at Cafe Coyote.
No way!
I can't remember his fucking name though.
I want to say it's like Josh or John, or not John, but it's like I want to say it was Josh. Lacey would know.
Yeah. Either way, I don't even remember what I was.
I forgot. We got way off topic, but something about journalism.
We should. Oh yeah. Oh, I wrote an article when I was at the newspaper in junior college about the Westboro Baptist Church.
Oh.
And I was just objective,
and I just That respectable
Yeah,
organization.
but I was basically kind of talking about an angle of how what they were doing was wrong, but I wrote it to the point where I wasn't saying outright it's wrong, because that's still not being objective, but the way I wrote it, you can tell.
You put the facts and let people come to their own conclusion that
Yes,
they're clearly
and I
racist
remember
assholes.
one of their fucking family members commented.
Was it the one that's gone? The one that left the church?
It was like Senior, the one who had passed away. I can't remember their fucking name.
Okay. Because there's a daughter that left the church that's like very fucking cool.
It might have been her. It might have been her actually, because this was in 2014 when I wrote this.
That timeline, were they positive towards you about it?
So it wasn't negative about the article. All they said, and this was actually on me or the editor. I think it was on the editor. It was just a minor detail. They said, "Oh, it was Senior, not the third." Because I think I wrote.
Yeah, that's an easy thing to miss.
The suffix was wrong.
Yeah, especially
and
with
they were like,
inbred shit.
They're like, I think they said like, "How dare you get this mixed up?" It's like, dude, it's like I get it. It's a distinction because Senior is different than Junior and the third. So that's on me and the editor. But
Right.
damn,
Well,
they came
also
across
maybe
really
don't,
like vile.
Yeah. Also,
like,
maybe don't just like fuck each other forever and then make us try and figure out what generation you are.
Yeah.
Maybe just that part.
That whole family is a thing, unfortunately. And you know what? They may or may not be drinking Clorox.
I hope they are. I'm praying. I'm really at least drink some Kool-Aid. As San Diego residents, I feel like we can always
You just go like this.
we can always advocate for more Kool-Aid and purple Nikes. Is what I'm saying.
I'm not a man of prayer anymore, but
right.
I do pray that they drink Clorox.
That's right. Everyone should join the Hell's Gate cult. Is what I'm saying. Oh boy. Anyway. There is actually a daughter I think that's pretty cool, Kevin Smith, if I remember right.
Okay.
I want to say it's Kevin Smith. It's either Kevin Smith or Joe Rogan, one of the two, or maybe
Kevin Smith, as in Kevin Smith, the director and writer.
Yeah. Who did a movie that's like loosely based on them. It's either Kevin Smith, Rogan, or somebody else. It's somebody like along those lines that they had someone reach out and like kind of. I want to say it was Kevin Smith, but I could be wrong. Anyway. Not relevant. Let's see. Do you have any other Can't Miss MMA podcast for this week?
Yeah, mine was you had texted me about this, and I'm glad I listened to it. It was the weekly scraps. Aljamain Sterling's podcast.
That was my next one.
Here,
hold on. I got the episode number right here. This was episode 74, 420
if
edition.
If you don't mind, if you start this, I gotta grab a beer.
Yeah, go for it. I'll start it off. But the main thing of why this episode is really cool and really important is this is Aljamain Sterling and his girlfriend sitting down and having a discussion about what they've been going through over the last, I believe he said 6 weeks or so. I believe it was the timeline. And what's terrifying... Well, here, so let me start off the top. So they have been in quarantine for like 4 to 6 weeks. Aljamain's girlfriend works at a hospital in New York. I'm not sure her role. I know she's hands-on with patients. I don't know that she's a certified nurse or anything. I think she's on her way to becoming a certified nurse, if that gives you any kind of... And then I'm just picking this up from context of the episode, so if that gives you any kind of perspective onto what her actual role is, because again, I don't know for sure. They didn't disclose it. Seems like nurse adjacent, probably nurse assistant, or something like that. But what was interesting is she said she started coming down with symptoms and went over to Aljo's place and started staying with Aljo when she figured out that she was starting to have symptoms, because she was like, listen, if I'm going to have symptoms, I just need to be with Aljo, and that way I have like a responsible party near me to kind of deal with this shit. And so she ended up getting tested through her union, I believe is what she said, which, hey, fighters, if you had a union, you could probably get tested. Every other fucking sport on the planet has gotten tested because they have a union.
Imagine if we had like
nurses.
a Jimmy Hoffa kind of fiery person that could help spearhead a union, right? For the MMA.
We do. They're spearheading the opposite of unions, and they own the promotion, unfortunately. Yeah. But, Jesus. But, yeah, so she ended up being confirmed as a positive case for coronavirus or COVID-19. She was living with Aljo at the time, which means Aljo is definitely at least... I don't know how he could have not caught it. He's probably asymptomatic. He said he didn't really have any cold issues or anything. But I would argue, Chris, the most well, first off, I want to give huge respect to both Aljo and his girlfriend for putting this episode out.
And her name again, was it Rebecca Cruz?
I want to say that's correct. I know her last name is Cruz. I'm not positive on her first name. I did not write it down. I know her last name is Cruz, though. But I wanted to put out, just say off the top, like, so much respect for having that conversation on air in front of people, because that's super hard to do, super personal, and they didn't need to. Like,
yeah, they didn't have, and I appreciated it too, because it really let Aljo kind of be transparent about, for those curious as people were curious, hey man, how come he can't train? You know, what the fuck, dude? You should take that fight. It's like, dude, he's taking care of his girlfriend.
Not even that he can't train. Number one, his gym's closed. Number one. Number two, the person they're trying to have him fight, they were trying to have him fight in San Diego. That fight's not happening in San Diego. And number three, they're offering him fights while they know his girlfriend is sick and he's taking care of her, which was the big takeaway in this episode.
Yeah.
Like, he told them he cannot fight right now. And they still put out a statement saying Aljo's fighting Corey Sandhagen in fucking San Diego. And then Aljo had to come out and be like, yeah, no, I'm not taking fights. They didn't even send me a fucking fight offer. This is just some UFC PR bullshit. And it's one of the most egregious and one of the most upsetting moves I've probably ever seen from the promotion, outside of cutting Leslie Smith for trying to start a union. Like, Kajan Johnson and Leslie Smith is by far, I would say, the most egregious treatment of an athlete that they've ever had. Because that's, like, literally breaking federal laws over and over again in the way they treated both of them. I mean, not above board breaking federal laws, because technically they cut them off of wins because they paid off their contract and they didn't want to have them fight anymore. Definitely not because they were just trying to start a union. But the absolute insensitivity by the promotion to try and even throw a rumor out there that Aljo is booked for a fight during all this shit. When, number one, he's in New York alone. Like, no New York fighters should be told they're fighting right now.
Yeah, no. New York is the most. It has
People
to be.
People are dying every
city.
Fucking day by, like, a big number. Like,
one of my best friends who lives in Manhattan, he's saying, like, dude, it's like every hour you hear cheers when people are kind of being let out of the hospital, and it's like cheers as far as, like,
every night they're doing the worker cheer and all that stuff. Like, and everyone I know in New York, every podcast I listen to of anyone that lives in New York, outside of Louis J. Gomez, every single one of them has had people they know die, like, recently, and most of them have had multiple.
And the thing he brought up that I thought was really, I mean, I was already aware of this, but imagine you're in an apartment flat or just giant fucking building. A lot of those apartment flats have a bathroom that isn't even in your flat. It'd be like, I go out my door right now, and then the bathroom's down the fucking hall.
Yeah, it's like
but then someone else is using it.
It's like a dorm bathroom.
Someone else's germs are in there. Like, I don't know where the fuck they've been. It's so, like, my anxiety would be through the fucking roof.
Yeah, it's
you can't go outside.
Well, you can't open the door on anywhere in your building.
No,
like, you can open your own door, maybe. Like, hopefully no one licked your fucking doorknob.
It sucks, man. I feel terrifying for the people of New York City.
We're lucky that in San Diego,
Jersey too.
We're pretty spread out in California, which is what's, I think, that and the way Gavin Newsom has handled things is the big savior out here.
So, and shouts out to all the celebrities. We're in the same boat as you. So I wish I was on your boat.
All those people
I wish it was in your house where you can literally go fucking cross your mansion. What am I gonna do today, honey? Let me go to my tennis court. All right, fuck it. I'll play some basketball later. 100%. I got my private. I got my bowling alley too. Oh, you know what I would do if I was a rich celebrity? I'd have my own indoor, like, golf simulator. 100%.
I'd love to put all those idiots on a yacht right now.
Yeah.
And just let them fucking all drift off to sea and shit.
By the way, my beer I grabbed real quick, you had mentioned this, I think, a week ago. I had to pick it up. Shouts out to Jimbo's Liquor.
Oh, yeah, you got the hazy.
Look at that. They redesigned all their... Look at that.
The can work is so tight.
Dude, AleSmith, because I had Forgeberry the other day too.
I have a 1-to-1 comparison. I actually have the AleSmith Pale Ale right here, $3.94. That you guys can see the can comparison between the two.
So you see me, I'm going full Embrace San Diego right here. So
there you go. Here, I'll go full Embrace MMA and I'll rock my co-main event podcast koozie. How about that? Boom. Are you fucking kidding me, as they say?
God damn, that beer is so good and tropical. Yeah. Pick that up when you can.
I haven't gotten it yet, but their pale ale is incredible. So yeah, I'm gonna have to get that. But yeah, I don't want to drag on about this one, but it's really interesting. She talks a lot about kind of going through her symptoms and how they worsened. Some of them being fucking terrifying, like the shortness of breath stuff. Where she's someone who's like very in shape. I mean, she lives with Aljo, and Aljo is a motivating motherfucker who will not watch somebody not do cardio. I have a feeling, and she's like, no, I like walking upstairs and getting out of bed and shit. I was out of breath, which is terrifying to hear. And also Aljo did pop a gummy bear edible before the show. He said,
I remember that. Yeah, he's like, I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Yeah, he's like, actually, I did pop an edible gummy bear, so. Fucking rocking 420 properly. But yeah, I'm a big Aljo fan, and I really like the work he's doing, especially on that podcast. Big shouts to the dude Cody Merrill, who is the guy who kind of runs a lot of stuff behind the scenes for that show, as well as the Anakin Florian podcast. He took over kind of Mike Heck's old role on that show. And yeah, man, I'm really high on that show in general, but especially that episode. I feel like it's by far one of the most important episodes of the week.
Yeah, and I'm really happy you texted me about that, and I got to.
I feel like people
just kind of really get insight of how the symptoms are, really too. Because I mean, if I were to feel symptoms, the only thing I would assume would be shortness of breath and like the
taste thing, right?
Your sinuses are all fucked, or fever, headache, that kind of thing. I remember his girlfriend said, yeah, I've been into a Jersey Mike sandwich and couldn't taste anything. I was kind of freaking out. I'm like, yeah, I would get anxiety. I'm like, what the fuck's going on?
See, what's even scarier for me, though, is my nose is for show. My nose doesn't work. Like, I broke my nose bad enough when I was a kid, and I never, like, my parents are fucking delinquents, so they're like, you'll be all right. They're not going to do anything for it anyway. And so, actually, here's a funny story. Did I ever tell you how I broke my nose?
I think. I remember you broke your hand, your pinky, by punching a wall.
Well, yeah, but everybody does that when they're fucking 16 and they hit a wall and catch a stud.
Yeah, everyone listening to their emo music, right?
100%, dude. I was like, fucking slit my wrist and black my eyes.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah, I cut my wrist and black my eyes. Fucking Hawthorne Heights all day up in this bitch. No, I don't even like Hawthorne Heights.
Neither do I.
Yeah, no, it's the funniest lyric of all time to reference. It's so good. But no, the way I broke my nose when I was a kid is I was about, I think I was in 8th grade or 9th grade, and my uncle, who was driving a boat in North Carolina, we were out there visiting him. We're on a lake. He's driving a boat, and he's like, to me and my other cousin, who's like a year or two younger than me, but like by far the biggest two dudes, were like, I don't know, probably about the same, like late middle school, early high school kind of range. Actually, no, it was like 8th grade, I think. So like, yeah, middle school age, but like both big dudes comparatively. And he's like, hey, why don't you guys get on the back and hold onto this rubber tube, and I'm just going to drive around and whip you guys around. By the way, drinking a Busch. Busch Light, I'd like to say. Like, literally had a can of Busch Light. He didn't even say,
Go Duke.
He didn't even say, dude, literally that whole family went to Duke. He went to Duke. His wife went to Duke.
That's why I said that. I remember
his father-in-law went to Duke. The kid who kicked me in the nose went to Duke.
And
I say that because younger and cousins went to Duke. Everyone went to Duke.
Oh,
my father went to Duke.
How did you not go to Duke then?
Because my dad told me he's not fucking paying for that shit. Which is ironic because his dad paid for it, and so did his entire side of the family.
Like, I don't really necessarily care about Duke, but if I was like a big college basketball fan, I would hope I went to that school.
I love Duke. To be fair, I remember. I'm the one guy who likes Christian Laettner. I'm the one guy.
Yeah. I'm sure you were stoked on Zion Duke, like a year or two ago.
Yeah, I fell off Duke basketball pretty hard after the
I'll say this,
Trajan Langdon, fucking Jay Williams years.
I'll say this, I was watching the NBA for the first time in a while, like actually watching it, and this kid's nuts for New Orleans. Like,
Oh,
so
yeah.
fucking
Dude,
good.
Zion,
He's like Shaq. He's like
insane.
Shaq.
He's better than
Yeah.
Shaq because he's way more athletic.
Yeah.
He's ridiculous. But no, so yeah, no. Here's a funny story. My dad told me, "Oh yeah, you can go to Duke. You just have to do 2 years at Mesa first." It's like, you went to Duke. You know that's not how that works. You don't get into
it's like,
Duke
if you have
from
enough
going to
family in
Mesa.
there, they could technically like grandfather you in there. I mean, a lot of people do that.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
he told me I have to get scholarships to pay for it. And as a fucking solid, at that time,
that or loans.
at that
but
time
I
I was an A student, which is not good enough to go to Duke. So I was like, yeah, I could do it, or I could just fucking not eat $200,000 in debt. So I'm good. Instead, I went to a goddamn trade school, and now I'm doing a podcast here. So
all
could have
good.
been a lawyer or a doctor, but instead I'm doing a podcast working for a
Bro, you could have been a Lincoln lawyer in your car.
Oh, bro, I could have been Matthew McConaughey. Wait a minute, I'm fucked up. Anyway, back to the story. Yeah, so my uncle's dragging us behind this boat. We're both grabbing onto a raft. He takes a fucking angle that is so sharp that the boat stops moving, but we're going straight 90 degrees to the side, bouncing on this raft. And I couldn't hold on. I let go. My cousin lets go about a half second after me and hits me square in the nose with his heel. In the water, in the lake. I definitely almost pass out. And then I am just leaking blood and have black eyes for a couple days. And then my nose has never worked since. So I've got like one of these days I'll blow it. Here, actually, I have a vape around here somewhere, right? Oh, I don't. Anyway, if I blow smoke out, one goes out one angle and one goes out directly 90 degrees from my nose. So, anyway. That's a story that probably didn't need to be told, but it's a weird episode, and it's legit about 95 degrees in here, so I think I'm losing my mind.
Well, we can stop whenever you want, because it's actually starting to get hot as fuck in my room now. I was just outside.
Well, let's see. Did you have any other Can't Miss episodes?
That's the only other can't miss. I have an honorable mention. I've like technically.
We'll get to that in a second because I actually have a.
So you can keep
I
going.
have one more can't miss. And Chris, do you remember the movie Never Surrender from 2009 that we did a commentary for?
Does that have to do with all the rhinestones and shit?
Probably. It's Hector, what's his name? Ivaria or whatever?
Yes, I remember this. This is really bad.
Yeah, and it was...
Is that the one where you said that one thing that you shouldn't have said?
No. That was Supreme Champion.
That's right.
No, I didn't say Kunta Kinte in that episode.
Yeah.
However, I still stand by that joke. However, it's not appropriate, but it's very funny if you in context. However, this is the one that has GSP in it. It has Rampage Jackson. It's about a dude who, like, essentially, he gets concubines this is every MMA movie we've watched. But he gets concubines after each time, he wins. And there's a lead dude who's, like, the concubine master that he's going up against. This is literally every one of the movies we've done now that I'm describing it. Like, this is Supreme Champion plot also. But Hector Escovaria, I think is his name. Or something along those lines. But my point is, the MMA Depressed Us did an episode about it. Where they did a commentary. And holy fucking shit is it good. Dude.
Oh, I bet. I distinctly remember there was... I think there was an actual like Mortal Kombat fatality like scene.
100%. No. Maybe there might be. There's a lot of like flipping and running up cages.
I just remember there was something with someone's spine getting fucked up, and the guy the way he did it, he was just like all way too much into it, like some Shang Tsung. Yeah,
I believe he 12-6 elbowed a dude's spine to death. In that movie. There's all
because I remember you and I were just like, "What the fuck?"
There's also it's the closest we've probably seen as far as an MMA movie version of The Room.
That's accurate because as the movie we saw last week is far
no
the movie we saw last week is just
boring.
bad. The movie we saw last week is just a shit movie.
By the way, happy 420, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that fucking boring ass movie. To be fair, we didn't know how boring it was. How do you make a weed movie that boring? Like, you don't have.
And remember, yesterday
did anyone smoke weed in that movie?
420.
Oh yeah. Did anyone actually smoke weed in that movie? Now that I think about it.
No, not at all.
No one ever actually smoked weed.
There was some cocaine.
Oh yeah, there was coke in that movie. No, but like no one actually got high off weed in the weed movie called Green Rush.
You already know. I guarantee it's like this. Uriah Faber is like, no man, we can't have people smoking weed, dude. I don't even smoke weed.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
What do you want to be, my parents?
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, but
I don't believe in vaccines. What?
Yeah, Jesus, I forgot about that. That fucking how? Oh my god, that dude has a kid who's probably got the Rona right now.
My name's Uriah. I'm gonna drink some Clorox.
God,
brother.
Anyway, I'm just gonna keep on moving on. But yeah, no, it's an incredible commentary. I don't even have anything to say other than at 20 minutes in, Connor Rebush calls it the most pathetic thing he's ever seen. Which, I mean, to be fair, when you are a dude in his 40s casting yourself as an MMA lead who can't fight, and the entire movie is about you fucking women and getting them aggressively undressed and having the most awkward sex scenes over and over and over again.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes in montages.
We made this joke when we watched Triple X3 with remember Karen watched that?
Yeah,
and Karen kept doubling down on the Vin Diesel being gay. She was like, look how not gay I am. You know, when it shows like him fucking like 10 women at once.
That's 100% what this whole movie feels like. You're right. Yeah. 100%. That's a great reference. Shouts to Girlfriend Karen for that one. Oh, man. Yeah, but while I do not... Well, you know what? I do recommend watching this movie, but only if you're going to do it with their commentary. I guess with our commentary too, but I would argue theirs is probably funnier. But holy shit, they have some great references, and it's just a lot of fun. So if you want like lighthearted, no fucking COVID talk podcast content that'll just get you out of your own head for a while, 100% spend the $4 to rent the terrible Never Watch It Again movie, Never Surrender, from 2009, and listen to the commentary from the MMA to press this, guys, because it's fucking incredible. Here, I'll rattle through some new shows that I listen to, because they're only kind of relevant. I mean, they're relevant, they're good, but they're only kind of MMA related, or kind of new shows. For example, Between Rounds, TJ DeSantis and... Why can I not remember dude's name every time I do this? I know it's not Rob Tatum. I know exactly what his fucking name is. I talk about him every week on this show. And yet I cannot remember the name of motherfucking... the dude who's trained with Team Quest forever. I've heard him do a buckload of podcasts. His name is Nick Albert. God damn it. How do I forget that every time? Nick Albert and TJ DeSantis started it's not technically a new show, because technically I think it's still for the time being. It's called Beatdown, I think. Here, actually, let me look that up again. But essentially, it's a new version of that show, which they're going through. And Chris, I've never heard anybody do anything like this, and I think it's a really interesting concept. So I want to get your take. TJ was thinking recently about kind of lists in MMA of like relevant people and how to put them together, and he decided what if you were to take 100 slots to fill 100 names, whether they be names of people, names of promotions, names of groups or teams. But if you were to take 100 slots and enter 100 names to explain MMA history, who do you choose? And I thought that was a fascinating concept that I'd never heard anybody even come near addressing before.
That is
because like you have to have the obvious ones like the Fertitta brothers, or do you even have the Fertitta brothers? Do you just have
even who is it? Art Davey,
of course. But then it gets down to discussions like, well, do you have the Fertitta brothers, or do you just have Lorenzo Fertitta as your name? Or like, for example,
what do you say? There's 100 slots, but 100 names.
100 slots, 100 names, but like you can sometimes use like the Diaz brothers could be one name. Or you could use Nick Diaz and Nate Diaz as two names.
But, I mean, it's 100 slots. I mean, yeah, you figure that's a lot of slots, but when you come down to it...
but when you come down to it, it's not really any.
It's not.
Like, when you count promoters, organizations,
like
fighters, personalities in media. Like, 'cause you got to have Josh Gross, right? Probably.
Yeah.
You got to have. I argue you probably have to have Ryan Bennett in that conversation. There wouldn't be MMA podcasting without him. Or if
you really do have to have Ariel Helwani as far as him kind of getting like those high profile interviews like early on it.
Do you? Because what part of the sport does he actually tell that the Josh Gross story doesn't tell? Because TJ makes the argument that the only real part that Ariel really tells in the history of MMA right now is 199 where he gets banned. But the Josh Gross and Loretta Hunt ban is kind of already covers that.
That's a good point.
Do you include both? Do you include just Josh Gross? Do you include Josh Gross and Loretta Hunt? Do you try to include all three as just Sherdog? So it's a lot of those kind of conversations, which is really fascinating. Like, and so there's.
And you said this is MMA history, right? Not UFC history.
MMA history as a whole. So like,
I
everybody.
see. Okay, yeah.
And so if you were to tell somebody from the beginning of time and only list 100 names of 100 things or people, what do you pick? And so it's a fucking fascinating.
And you got to think about how many of those are fighters versus media versus executives,
and a lot of those probably aren't fighters, which is the craziest part. Like, they say Stipe probably doesn't make the list.
Who?
Stipe.
Oh, Stipe.
Like, winningest heavyweight champion of all time. But, like, if you're to tell the story of MMA history, do you have to include Stipe? Probably not.
Yeah, it's...
Like, there's other heavyweights who you would include over him. And weirdly enough, those heavyweights are probably not Kane either. It's probably
I would probably just say
it's probably
Fedor.
Brock.
Easily. Brock, Brock mostly because
of the story behind it.
And if you really think about what Brock Lesnar did, even for the UFC, he really did bring in a lot of new fans too. People don't even realize like how fucking popular Brock Lesnar still is. And what's even crazy, like yes, knock him for being in WWE, but the dude is an absolute stud talent at wrestling, and from what he's able to do, like I almost wish that dude took up striking and MMA training when he was like in his mid-20s. That dude
getting hit in the face.
I know, but my point is,
you can only train that out of somebody to a certain point.
Yeah, but you see what I'm trying to get at? Like that dude could have been a goddamn like fucking monster earlier. So yeah, you got to include Brock. And the lighter weight classes.
Some interesting stuff though, that I heard that I was kind of thinking about a lot is. If you include a team, then to name a certain person from that team, you would have to actually do it separate. So, like, obviously, Miletich Fighting Systems and all the guys from that team, from Matt Hughes to Jens Pulver to Tim Sylvia, you have to talk about the Miletich team in the early days.
So, if you're saying teams, as far as one person, you got to go with Dan Lambert. Has to be part of him. You know.
So here's the question: do you do HCT as a whole? Do you do Dan Lambert individually, or do you do both for two separate slots? And so
I think you do both. I think that's fair.
Then how do you fit a fucking 98 other people on that list because you're going to have the Miletich team?
No.
So if you have
other people could argue.
If you have Miletich Fighting System, do you also have to have a separate slot for Matt Hughes? Probably.
Yeah, that's fair.
Do you also have to have a separate slot for Jens Pulver? First UFC.
Yeah. Because someone would also argue, okay, I would love to have Team Alpha Male in a slot. What about Uriah Faber? So
but then you can't talk about Uriah if you're talking about Team Alpha Male as a whole. So then,
so I think you have to go with. I think you just have to go with the GM as a slot.
Well, see, I think what you do is, what they were saying is, you can do both. You can have the gym and the fighter, but it's two separate slots. Because to talk about Team Alpha Male doesn't tell the full history of the sport without specifically talking about Uriah Faber as a person. And arguably, talking about Uriah Faber and his run is a better description for what Team Alpha Male became than just talking about Team Alpha Male and not talking about Uriah Faber's run.
And when you talk about Team Alpha Male too, do you have to talk about TJ Dillashaw at that point? Because when he is he
even relevant to the history of MMA? Probably not, which is insane.
Because when you think about the history of MMA, when you think about the history, when you think about the history of MMA, lighter weight classes weren't even a thing until 2006, 2000. What was it when Pulver fought Penn at lightweight? What was the inaugural
tournament?
That was 2005, 2006.
What was the pin?
I think it was 2005.
Uno rematch.
I think it was the end of 2005.
Yeah, because the Pin versus Uno rematch was the death of the lightweight division, right? Because it was a draw, and that's what killed the division for a while. Yeah, so that was 2003.
Wow.
And then lightweight was dead up until, I believe... well, no, it wouldn't have been '07 because Penn didn't automatically get the lightweight fight again.
Like, I feel like when I think of, if you were to say, okay, name like slots it out of the 100 off the top of your head, right?
Here, you go through a couple. I really have pee. So go
yeah. You go Dana White,
conversation, though,
you go
sure.
Davey, Fertitta Brothers, Scott Coker, you go Tito Ortiz, Chuck Liddell, Fedor, Ronda Rousey, Conor McGregor. You go media members, right? Okay. Josh Gross. I mean, the media is tough. I mean, I almost think you have to represent like a site or a specific medium. If you go more fighters in the lighter weight classes, BJ Penn is fair. Yeah, this gets tough. You go, okay, what's the beginnings of lightweight? Jens Pulver, BJ Penn, Matt Hughes, George St. Pierre, Anderson Silva, John Jones. Other heavyweights besides Fedor, you get Randleman. Do you even get Cain Velasquez? Do you get Daniel Cormier? Yeah, this is tough. You go, okay, what about welterweight? You got Matt Hughes. I already said George St. Pierre. Yeah, this is tough. Because then you got to think about the Japanese promotions too. Pride, the tournaments. Dream. Certain kickboxers.
You talking about how the... Go ahead.
I was talking about how difficult it is to name the lightweights, like lower than 155, that really impacted the sport.
I mean...
Because it's still so fairly new.
Dude, not only that, but it's just hard to even narrow down...
I was going to say, you can say Jose Aldo. Jose Aldo, 100,000%.
Jose Aldo, 100% is on that list.
I argue Dominic Cruz as well, too. I wouldn't make an argument with Dominic Cruz because of WEC bridging. Demetrius Johnson deserves a slot.
DJ is like right on the bubble though, which is insane.
I was saying the obvious ones to me: Anderson Silva, John Jones, GSP,
Matt Hughes.
Matt Hughes. That's us. As BJ Penn. I was saying, okay, well, look about the Japanese promotions. Pride, they deserve a slot.
Well, so here's the question. I was going to say is you probably have to fill just 10 slots with promotions, like because you need to have Pride, you need to have the UFC, you need to have WC, you need to have Elite XC. You probably need to have Bellator for the.
You need to have PFL because of all the kerfuffle regarding money.
You could do PFL / WSOF probably is what you would call it.
You have to include them.
You probably also need Hook and Shoot to talk about the women's tournament.
As crazy as it sounds, I don't know if you'll agree with me. Ali Abdelaziz by himself
maybe
deserves a slot. I am dead serious because of how many people he manages.
Ramzan, right?
Yeah.
It's got to be either him or Ramzan is one of the two.
I would choose Ali because of the fighters that he manages and because of all the connections he has.
Yeah.
Ties to different, but he deserves a slot. He's a big part of mixed martial arts history.
For the negative, but a big part. Yeah. Vadim Finkelstein, it could arguably be on that list too for similar reasons, for his weird, or Sakaki Bara.
WMEIMG deserves a slot because they were the ones who ESPN.
Yep. 100%. So there's a lot of weird, interesting factors. I would like to point out that Campbell McLaren is nowhere near the fucking top 200 of this list, which I think is hilarious because he definitely thinks he would be the top 50. I'm sure. I fucking cannot stand that dude for so many reasons.
I also said McGregor and Rousey. I mean, obvious.
Yeah,
it's like
you got
bringing in
for star power. Same reason Brock Lesnar's on there.
Yeah,
just like bringing people into the sport. Here's a question. Do you put
the Diaz brothers as one?
Yeah,
because they both bring a lot of people. Put them as one.
Do you put Forrest Griffin on the list? He's a UFC champion.
I do because he started the Ultimate Fighter. He kind of started the whole thing.
The question.
He didn't start the show.
Here's the question: do you put Forrest Griffin on the list, and or do you put Tough One, and or do you put Forrest versus Bonner? I think the move is to put Tough One as a whole.
But you just put Tough One. Because there's so many veterans on that.
Diego, it covers everybody.
Josh Koscheck, fucking Kenny Florian,
I think that's the move.
Chris Lieben. Who else? I can't remember.
Yeah, but just between, if you were to just narrow it down, if you were to just start with promotions and refs, you're down to 80 people.
Yeah.
Or like
Yeah,
85.
refs. What do you think of refs? Big John.
Big John guaranteed.
Herb Dean.
Herb Dean's like right on the bubble. I don't know if there's
Yeah.
any actually other than Big John.
Mario Yamasaki, maybe, because he got kind of expelled.
Nah, because like you can explain bad.
Yeah, because even
you probably pick
Pete Mazzagatti too kind of got run out.
And I think a lot of those conversations go into the athletic commission conversations, which like you have to have the California State Athletic Commission, you have to have the Nevada State Athletic Commission, you have to have the New Jersey Board of whatever the fuck they call themselves of athletics, and those three have to be in there. Which like now we're down to 20 people, or now we're down to 80 people. We haven't even gotten to fighters outside of like promotions, refs, and whatchamacallit, commissions. So it's an interesting conversation, right?
Yeah, and I think we can continue this at some other point too. I don't want to necessarily run on. I gotta go tell my neighbor's dog to shut the fuck up. With respectfully.
Yeah, no.
I hope you can't hear this, but he's barking like a maniac.
No, I can't hear it at all, so we're good for right now.
Okay.
Why don't we get through some honorable mentions here, and then we'll get out of here. Actually, did you have any well-rounded shows that you wanted to shout out? Stuff that's not anime related that you wanted to get people? Congratulations
from Chris D'Elia was funny. As far as stand-up specials, I finally saw Ball Hog, which was Tom Segura's latest stand-up special on Netflix. Pretty fucking good.
Yeah.
He had a lot of Louis C.K. kind of jokes in there, influence. At least in my opinion, because I'm a big Louis C.K. fan. As far as his stand-up goes.
I'm just super glad you clarified that.
Of course, I'm going to clarify as far as stand-up.
Big fan of
which, by the
him
way,
jerking
I
off
remember
at Sarah Silverman.
Yeah, right. I remember I told you too. I saw Louis C.K.'s latest stand-up on his own website, and that was actually pretty fucking good.
That's right, you did. I never actually.
Because he grills the fuck out of himself, and he's really good at it.
Yeah, he would be. That's his entire gimmick, is being self-deprecating.
Yeah, that's solid. I watched some comedy stuff. I haven't checked out Chris D'Elia's new special. What movie did I just see? Oh, I just watched Bohemian Rhapsody at work yesterday. Finally, I love Freddie Mercury. I like Queen. Great fucking movie. If you even remotely like Queen or Freddie Mercury, you will absolutely like that movie.
For sure, unless you pay attention to the editing.
So the only reason why I wasn't really
the jump cuts are fucking brutal in that thing.
A little bit, but the only reason why I wasn't miffed on the sound editing is because I already knew that the guy impersonating Freddie Mercury is a professional impressionist or impersonator.
The sound editing is fucking fire. Like, the dude sounds incredible. The chops between scenes are jarring as fuck.
Have you seen it, or?
I've seen chunks of it, because girlfriend Karen has watched it a couple times.
So whoever, I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy, he's basically the only, I think someone said he's basically the only person in the world that pretty much sounds like Freddie Mercury as far as like that fourth octave range.
Yep.
I can't remember his name, but he was the one who did the singing for the film. And
I got you.
Yeah, there were some parts where they did actually just use the audio track from the actual song, but yeah, great fucking movie. The Live Aid concert looked insane. It looked cool. It felt like. What's up?
Rami Malek.
He played Freddie Mercury as far as the acting and like the lip syncing.
Oh, you're saying the voice is a different dude?
And he was fantastic. He won the Oscar for that, and I absolutely see why. He was insanely good. The mannerisms of Freddie Mercury. I don't want to necessarily say the flamboyancy, but the stage persona for it was to a T. It was great. You could tell he's
studied the struts, dog, is what you're talking about.
Yeah, but the guy, I can't remember his name, the guy who actually did the vocal singing that Rami Malek lip synced. I forgot his name, but he sounded pretty fucking close to Freddie Mercury. I mean, I consider Freddie Mercury arguably the greatest singer of all time, at least one of the top guys as far as what that guy can do. By the way, the only
Mark Martel.
Yes, I think that's him.
Mark Martel is the dude's name.
So my only criticism, Mike Myers has a short role as Ray Foster, who is a massive producer. He helped Jimi Hendrix and The Who. It's the part of the film where basically he's like, yeah, I can't let you guys throw with a Night at the Opera album. You can't do opera. That's bullshit. Bohemian Rhapsody's too long of a song. It was a little distracting because you can clearly tell.
I saw that scene, yeah.
You're just like, this is Mike Myers.
Yeah.
And I don't have anything against Mike Myers. It's just they could have done a better job with the makeup. That's all.
Well, that dude cannot do Mike Myers' voice. Like, he just does his voice all the time. So.
Yeah, I think he's trying to be English. I can tell. It's like,
I mean,
I don't know.
He was trying to be English, but not Austin Powers, and it just came off as like somewhere between Mike Myers and Austin Powers.
Good movie though. Glad I watched it. Another movie I guess I have on my list as far as mindless action. I saw it on Twitter. It was trending. Some new movie. Some new action movie. It's like, do you ever see the movie The Raid? The Indonesian martial. Yeah, and then the second, it's similar to that because it was the same stunt. I think choreographer who did those, and it's a movie called Extraction. It just came out on Netflix. The Russo brothers, the guys who did Captain America and then Avengers: Infinity War Endgame, did it, and Chris Hemsworth. It's supposed to be pretty sweet. So I don't know. Maybe I'll check that out and just get fucked up and watch it. So it's supposed to be pretty. They said it's pretty badass for just a mindless action flick. So I'll check it out.
Nice. That's what's up, dude.
Yeah.
I have mostly been watching a bunch of bullshit. I'm not gonna lie.
Why am I watching this kind of stuff? Or
I mean, kind of, yeah. It's a lot of stuff that I'm like. I mean, it's a lot of like either just drinking stuff that I'm watching, like Doug Stanhope's podcast. Obviously, that's a given. It's The Real, who's been doing incredible daily shows. I'm a big fan of that. But then after that, it's just like, I don't know. Been watching a lot of Greg Giraldo stand up, which is fucking
R.I.P.
Dude, one of the funniest people on the planet, and I even sleep on sometimes how fucking funny that dude is, and I'm a huge Greg Giraldo fan. Like, he should always be on my list of my favorite comics, and he's not, and it's embarrassing, because I forget sometimes. Like, him, Patrice O'Neal, Doug Stanhope, and probably... I don't have a good fourth answer. I did, but I'm blanking right now.
I gotta put this other headphone in because this dog. I would never shoot an animal, I would never shoot an animal. But just kidding.
But yeah, anyway, Greg Giraldo's stand-up is fucking incredible. It's super underrated.
I gotta check it out.
It's also aggressive though, so be forewarned because it was the late 90s, early 2000s. So like, the word faggot will fly kind of liberally still, and like that's just a thing you got to be like.
I mean,
didn't age well, but
Doug Stanhope said it a lot, and so I get it.
Everybody did. I said it a lot.
Yeah,
fucking
I think even
said it a lot. I got called faggot more times than I've said faggot.
I think even Dave Chappelle would loosely drop that.
100%. Well, I mean, it's one of those things where like, dude, in the 90s, like, you can only get called something so many times before saying it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I've gotten called faggot 100 times over for how many times I've said it. Especially growing up as a young punk dude with like fucking skinny jeans and cut off pink shirts in fucking in like the early 2000s, late 90s. Like,
yeah, AKA someone sees something or someone and they're like, I'm uncomfortable and insecure, so I'm just gonna say this word.
One of my favorite stories ever, I was walking in a park with my girlfriend holding her hand, and a dude in a wheelchair getting pushed by his mother looked over and called me a faggot for wearing a pink shirt. It's like, what the fuck is that?
You should be like this. What was that?
I started laughing so hard.
Hey, Hot Wheels, why don't you just keep on strolling the fuck along?
Dude, I started laughing so hard because I was like, I don't have any response to that, dude. Honestly.
That would honestly make my day. That would honestly make my day.
I just fell out laughing. I was like, that's incredible. But yeah, welcome to Southern California, y'all. Anyway, let's see. Oh, also, Between the Sheets, David Bixenspan reposted his podcast episode that he did with Jordan Breen about the Brawl for All, since WWE just put out their... I believe it's Dark Side of the Ring is the name of their documentary series about Brawl for All they did. But yeah, do you know what Brawl for All is?
What's it called?
Brawl for All. It was one of the WWE shows back in the day where they literally just put a bunch of actual wrestlers in the ring and have them fucking fight each other. So embarrassing. Bart Gunn just beats the fuck out of everybody. It's incredible. Like, they actually are boxing each other the fuck up and terrible at it. And also, the funniest part, bunch of pro wrestlers, the rules are no takedowns. Or no, I believe the rule is you can get a takedown, but you both have to immediately stand back up. It's good shit. So yeah, it's just Bart Gunn like smashing dudes in the face. Anyway, some other honorable mentions. Did you have any honorable mentions we didn't get to?
I think I got through mine. We're just going on movie talk.
Yeah, I think we got through most of them. Let's see, some ones I had between rounds MMA stories. This honestly would have been a catch or can't miss for me. TJ did have a little bit of a trouble with his mic this week, which was unfortunate. Although, since TJ is the best producer in the motherfucking game, it sounds like what happened is it recorded his laptop mic instead of his actual production mic, his aux mic. And so TJ, it seems like TJ pulled his audio, went back, remastered it, and then remixed it with the other people's audio, which only TJ DeSantis will do because he's a goddamn savage when it comes to audio and he does everything the right way. And yeah, I mean, if you're going to tell me Jens Pulver is on talking with Monty Cox and Jeremy Horn for an hour and a half about the old days of MMA, that's incredible fucking content. And honestly, it probably should have been catch or can't miss content for me, except for TJ's audio issues. But to be fair, as I tweeted back to him when he hit us up this week, it could be worse. He could be Greg Savage with this fucking rambling man Skype issues. Coast to Coast Combat Hour, they had Dr. John Lucas on, who's been a guest in the past. He's a regular on the MMA community forums, I believe, and he talks about all the weird decisions surrounding the UFC trying to do a show in California at Tachi, and then them going on and doing a show in Florida, and kind of just talks about what would be required to try and even make that a safe event at the current time. And I thought that was really interesting. The A-Side live chat for April 20th, 2020. I mean, hey, if Jose Youngs and Casey and Alex Gately are gonna tell me, hey, it's 420 and we got Elias Theodoro on talk about weed, you know I'm there for that. That shit was incredible. I'm a big fan of it. Let's see. Also on the A-Side live chat this week for April 22nd, Sarah Kaufman guested. She talks about they talk a bit about the earthquake that happened in California, which I slept through like I do every single fucking earthquake. And they talk about just kind of her trying to go through a camp and I don't know, just fun Sarah Kaufman stories, which I'm always a big fan of. Man in the Myth did an episode about the Edgar vs. Maynard trilogy, where they talked to Frankie Edgar at the end of it. Just really interesting. Fucking one of the best trilogies in the sport, and it's cool hearing Frankie's thoughts about it afterwards. This is where the quote comes from, where Frankie's like, yeah, I felt like a ghost was guiding me during parts of that Gray Maynard fight. You're like, oh god, that's terrifying to hear. The Man in the Myth also on April 22nd did their MMA global redraft for the welterweight division, where essentially they all picked 10 fighters from the welterweight division across all organizations and build an organization out of it. And man, it's really good. It's really, really good. It's a much better lineup than the last one because Chris and Sean Sheehan kind of figured out how to play the game better since what's his face, the man in the hat, Chuck Mendenhall, absolutely murdered him the week before with his lineup. Let's see. We talked about Heavy Hands. Eurobash episode 79 was really good. Interviews with Peter Yan, Jan Blachowicz, and Ian Gary. Liked that one quite a bit. And the Halfcast podcast. Dude, have you been listening to the stuff they're doing?
No, not lately.
So within the last week,
it should be.
Within the last week, they've had pretty much every big name at City Kickboxing on. They've had Izzy on. They've had Eugene Berman on. They've had Dan Hooker on. They've had Kai Asakura on. And they had the other person that I'm forgetting the name of right now. Who's the other big name at City Kickboxing?
You said Volkanovski?
That's the other one. Alexander Volkanovski.
Yeah.
And yeah, I listened to episode 34, which had Dan Hooker and Kai Asakura, and it's awesome. They kind of do a thing right now where they're asking generic questions, but it's kind of interesting to get the same answer from multiple people. So I enjoyed it for sure. And then Co-Main Event Podcast episode 398. They talk a bit about the Zuluzinho slap fighting, the rescheduled May 9th card, and all that. And Anakin Florian episode 246, their 420 edition. They had Sean O'Malley on. And,
nice.
Hey, if you're gonna do a 420 show, I would argue
it's a good guest.
Yeah, Elias and Sean O'Malley are the two guests that first come to mind that are available. So, big shouts to them on episode 246. But yeah, overall, a really good week in MMA podcast, man. I had a lot of fun with it.
I did as well. Yeah, it was refreshing. So, and let's just hope as long... It's like I stress out every time I say it. As long as they could do it in a safe manner and that there's actual medical professionals on site, I hope the fights in Jacksonville, Florida go forward because we know Florida clearly is the most responsible state. So we'll see. See how that goes.
I've often said they're the Bakersfield of states.
I would agree with you, except that Florida is just in the league of their own, man.
Yeah, but also so is Bakersfield, who came out and had multiple doctors this week come out and be like, I think we should just have people around each other, bro. I mean, we did produce the band Korn, so I think we know a lot about medical. The medical
that
industry.
checks out, and it's all very upsetting. Holy shit.
Yeah.
And by the way, I remember I told Trevor how Korn got they got their band name, and he was very disgusted with that. I'm like, well, you asked. So
wait a minute. I don't think I know that.
I can say it on air, but it's
Go
really
ahead.
gross.
I'm sure it is.
Are you sure?
Well, yeah, they have the song Adidas.
Yeah,
or the song about fucking family
Dude, Jonathan
members.
Davis. I remember it was an interview. I think he was on what was it? Faction. That's like the punk channel on, or maybe it was Liquid Metal. It was on Sirius XM. I listened to this like 5 or 6 years ago. But he was saying, "Yeah, I was like at a house party and I overheard these two gentlemen say that talking to each other, and they're like, yeah, last night I had a lot of fun. Oh, what'd you do? I ate the corn out of some guy's ass." And he's like, okay. And then Jonathan Davis is like, well, that's the name of our band.
Slap a K on it and call it a name.
There you go. And to be fair, Jonathan Davis also was a mortician before he decided to be a lead singer of a very big band late 90s. So for all those fucked up lyrics in their songs, that guy has seen some crazy shit.
Well, to be fair to him, in Bakersfield, there's 3 jobs. It's mortician, prison guard, and drug dealer. And only so many people can sell meth at once.
Professional corn eater or cornhole eater, maybe. Maybe I'm gone too far. I don't know. I'm done here. I'm ready to move on.
I feel like it's a good time to wrap it. It's been a fun episode, though. You guys, as always, can find us at thesoundofviolence.com or hit us up on Twitter, TSOVPod. We're always looking for recommendations of the podcast you guys are listening to, or if you have a podcast and we're sleeping on it, fucking tell us if you had a good episode, or tell us if we're not listening, and we'll listen, let you know what we think. So, always appreciate the feedback, and yeah, man, it's crazy fucking times, but we out here living. We out here. Cool, man. Well, I should shout out It's The Real also. I forgot to do that earlier. It's The Real. It's the best.
Oh, yeah. Should we shout out what we're doing next if we're still doing that?
Well, so here's the question. Are we going to say a movie, or are we going to say a fight card?
I think we're doing the movie, right? I guess.
So that was going to be my question, Chris, is we have 4 weeks. Well, we have 3 weeks till UFC 249, allegedly. We have 4 weeks until the alleged UFC San Diego card that was supposed to happen. We are 100% on April 16th recording a show and maybe putting out a show. We'll see how the timing works out.
Do you mean May 16th? Because it's April 25th.
I'm in May. 100%. The day that the San Diego card was supposed to happen, you and I are going to put out a commentary track for the UFC card that we last went to that was in San Diego.
Yeah.
I think that's the right thing to do,
so,
right? The Todd Duffy, Frank Mir,
I'm
card.
I'm down to do a movie tonight, but I'm also down to not do anything. I don't care because we have time.
Well, I was going to say we could do. Our options are. So here's what I'm thinking: is we still have one San Diego card we need to cover before the May 16th date, right? Because there's one other San Diego card we haven't looked at yet, which is John Jones versus the janitor Vladimir Machashenko, which I think is a fun card if I remember right. We also have the movie No Rules, which is going to be one of the weeks. And I'm thinking what we should do is save No Rules for May 9th in case the card doesn't happen on May 9th.
Okay.
Because if the card does happen on May 9th, then we can do No Rules. Well, I don't know. I assume they're canceling every card after that out since someone's going to get sick.
Well, let's wait a week. If like a week from now we hear that fight's probably going to happen, maybe we'll do No Rules next week. We'll just play by ear with No Rules.
So then my question is, how do you feel about watching a Pride Bushido card today?
How long is the card?
That's a good question. If I was to look up a card which I believe widely recognized as the best Pride Bushido card, which if you don't know, Pride Bushido is generally the lighter weight Pride fighters and generally were a fucking ton of fun. Bunch of big bangers. And I believe Pride Bushido 9 is a tournament. And it was awesome from what I remember. So if I was to go to Fight Pass right now, let's look up the length of Pride Bushido 9. Oh, that's a long card.
I was gonna say I'm down to do something for like an hour. I don't know. I'm just kind of like, it's fucking hot, dude.
Yeah, it's super hot. We both need to air we both need to like try and get some breeze going. So you know what?
Need to go
We'll
outside.
be back later this week, and you guys will find out what it is when we do it here in a little bit. And we're gonna be recording it, I think, tonight, right?
No.
Cool.
Yeah,
So
we'll talk amongst each other, and we'll let y'all know.
Yeah, since the last couple times we've tried to announce it, we've been wrong anyway. So we'll go ahead and figure that out, and we'll be back because we're not going to watch a 3-hour and 42-minute Pride Bushido 9 card right now.
Nope.
But we will be back, and you guys will probably put this out. I'm planning on Wednesday to release the, barring any craziness, I'm going to release the commentary track on Wednesday. That gives me time to edit it. I've held off for right now on doing the daily episodes for podcasts. Number one, because news isn't changing daily like it was for a little bit. And number two, it's exhausting since I'm still working every day or every weekday. And number three, I was literally having podcast discussions halfway through the week that I would then have to repeat myself for with you at the end of the week. So seemed redundant. So yeah, those are on pause for the time being, at least until the news cycle gets crazy again. So that's it for right now. We're going to be back later in the week, and you guys will get a weird commentary track for a fight card. You know what? Maybe I can talk Chris into doing King of the Cage Wet and Wild, because we haven't done it.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. So maybe we'll do that one. And till then, everybody, go check out the website, give us your recommendations, and go do something decadent. We out. Bye.
Liked by the sound of violence.